As I was feeling a bit like Alice, tumbling down the rabbit hole, wondering where and how I became to be. Who am I? Where did I start it? Where did it start it? Where did life begin for me? For who I am, for what the soul says, the character has always been. As if I had always been, or I know where I've been before. How come? I feel this ambiguated feeling of disappearance and emptiness in the vastness of space, while everything's anew. It seems to be oblique to my opinion to think I am but a speck and not more in time than a short period of loneliness. How else a derivative of my thoughts of my former being would be in this place, feeling like Alice tumbling down the rabbit hole. As if none before me was ever around me again, or so to say, love. Partake in the happiness where I am right now? Or would I say I'm depressed on the situation of the world today? Or where I'm at as a person sitting in this vast land of all kinds of things to do, and stories, and legend, and stories, and revelation. As if who am I? Up against that character, all of the others, 7 billion. How to speak of other worlds or may be or have been or will be again. To say I will be none or a bird as a feather. Would I be the same right now as if I know where I had been before and standing here right now saying these things, tumbling down the rabbit hole like Alice, seeing the king of cards, decking the queen of spades? The hearts were already up the sleeve. But how come this denial and depression gets the better out of me when I'm looking forward to a time better spent than love? Why? Why the love is always the word to say you need to know a thing or two, when there's nothing to say about love, when it's just that disambiguation of a lost time in space during the great break of a new life of the light. The biggest light exploded, the biggest light there is actually. One white fake cloud passes by. Other ones who are as big as our Milky Way explode into nothingness, as if I've been before. How do I know if I've been before like Icarus? Why do I build a bow made out of blood iron and sacrifice? Out of depression of the criminality that haunts the world. That's how, or why. Why did I become a student? Why did I didn't succeed? That doesn't matter now, does it? In that depression, which is the war of today, and all of that tumbling down, going towards the edge, getting yourself into a hospital, getting yourself unclean. In the end, it doesn't matter for us all. And in the new life, it doesn't matter anyway. We get reborn. So what's the purpose in mind of this tumbling down the rabbit hole, as I'm feeling so disemboweled by the situation and my person itself, out of rest of who I am and the respect and love of nature and everything to say about righteousness, about what is there in society as a whole, in depression or in love, to say where is the crux as it goes forward in different matters. What's the crux in making money? What's the crux in the business of this or the business or that? It's all packed in neat corners, in containers. You only need the right container to get the right kind of stuff, and with the right kind of money you have the right kind of influence. You just move along like water or wind. Whilst other people have to gravel dirt, to grab every penny and every ounce of gold to get something alike. Where's the feeling of that? Nauseating and depressed, anxious, hopeless feeling of this world tumbling down the rabbit hole to Sheol. Where is Icarus now? Is he Habel? Is he Icarus? Is he Cain? Who is the world today? Who am I? Am I Icarus tumbling down the rabbit hole? Am I Alice? Am I an Achilles hole or a heel? Or am I a Sinti? Am I a woman? Am I another Aaron? Or am I Gaia, a piece of rock? Or do I turn it around? Like I am Vishnu, Balinese, or Yuvan. Or should I say I'm Misha and I'm Habel or Tobias? What is there else? The flat diamond of what kind of galaxy is spared in this predicament? Where are we at in this tumbling, like the world is going around in a stream, like a rush of a rapid, a white rapid, to be exact? In what white would you think this would end? And instead of being reborn and renewed by the water, which is kind of sort of depressed, but it's a good way. Where else would you lay your head whilst you're tumbling down the rabbit hole if there was nothing at all? If you had no time to reconcile life and death, or depression and love, considering to where the stone hits your face, or where you walk the road and you stop wondering about who is who and who am I. Where did we find as a human being that throughout the universe of universes there's one rule of coin? Mankind will always renew itself throughout itself, wherever and whenever they go and move on. Throughout the pages of history, life renews as life somewhere else dies. And everything is in phases, in circles. That's how these circles keep on pressing us towards the fact of a theory that we should be glad to be a little bit depressed and a little bit lost whilst we're falling down the rabbit hole, because we could be somewhere else and somewhere painful. That gives us perspective. The movement and momentum does not take away the bad thing that people do. That is the bad thing that will always stay the bad thing. The good thing about the differences and about the bad times that you feel more alike, you pump your moral up to the point where you break down. The point is, to that perspective, that you find love in a place you didn't think you would find love, falling down and being alone. Because after your life, when you die, you are alone From that point on, you have to work yourself with God to fulfill your book and become anew, so that you wash the bad and old, and the soul can come back after a time clean, so you can call yourself a new being again. That's how reincarnation works. The same thing as the universe wastes nothing. And if it's wasted, it's a damn waste, and that's why you feel so bad. Could I, or should I not say, where I would be at in difference of nature and earth of, how do you say it in English? Earth in language of a better fact, inherent to well, either if you're gay or if you're normal. Whether, or I should say, that it doesn't matter if it's up to the difference in culture or the difference in love or should it be any kind of different because of violence or because of love? Should it be different because of the criminal act in perspective of someone's intentions or someone's dictionary in say intentions far out towards Crown Constitution, towards discrimination and all of that stuff? Where should we forth so many things up aside to the container fact that everything is accessible in the modern world? You only have to have money and a little bit of influence. You can go anywhere with an education. With a little bit of money you could move, you could start things, you could start a business, stuff like that. All the while you're doing that, another person is falling down. You're falling down as well, but you don't see it. But it is there. And the fact that you don't come to grips, or you come to grips later in your life when you're old and miserable, maybe, that you thought about this earlier in life, that you are hanging upside down, falling down, that you're working against the stream of productiveness in your agenda, in your love, in your happiness, in your efficiency, in your contacts, in your private time, in your thoughts about your character. All these things come together, you know what I mean? It's like, where do you go from the fact that the universe explodes in your face for a roundabout, and people keep talking about the last of days, but the last days is a little vague. When the sun explodes, it's kind of final. That's what it is. But when the stuff is so far away and it's so vastly big, and everything explodes on a rhythm, then you get a kind of sort of like a wind of change, and everything feels strange. You know what I mean? Things get blown out of proportion, like reactions and stuff like that. Just because the ambient feeling is not on a break or something, on a level that there is modulation, and because of this polarity in thought of people's egos, you get situations that blow out of proportion even more, and you only have to put aside the conflicts in war next to the fact of the tumbling down the rabbit hole and all of these conflicting feelings about character and yourself alone. Then alongside the fact that within the nature of people, you have these things, these cliques, these fashions and these interests, and things get blown apart bit by bit, a bit more. Then you get all negative against to the morale that you know what to do and you know what life is. You know what belief system is, what is Jesus, what is Allah, what is Buddha, what is... You know what it is, you found yourself, you're 30, you're 40, but you're 40 and you're hanging upside down because the only thing you feel is negativity. You know, you can't get productivity forward. You see any kind of inhibitment or limitation, any kind of negative word pops up faster than any kind of good wine or good whiskey or good marijuana or whatever good kind of fruit sappies, juice. Why am I so fake and why are you so up to front if you say you're from the government and you gave me some training to help the little guy with his mind? What the little guy did for you was save your world like twice or 3 times, and you can say nothing about your ego because you're hanging there in an oblique fucking end of a corner, and the only thing you can do is push down someone else. That's what's wrong with society. People like you, why people feel so bad sometimes, because people from the government or other people in a situation of power oppress other people, oppress the need for them to be criminally insane is so it's unrecognizable to any kind of deal of logic, more or less known by the fact of chaos, Professor Chaos and his control of the mind. Set forth in liberty the division of mankind by its own self. Why would he not listen to me and my power of logic, whilst he could be of himself and more or less of his own group, with his own legend of power and his own choice of profession? Wherefore did Professor Chaos, who is called a god, bring forth the logic in this society if you see it? Why did it occur to you why Icarus would jump? Why did it occur to you why would Icarus jump whilst he had everything in heaven? He jumped, flew away to the sun, burned himself, and his father cursed him out, but you don't see the beauty of the freedom of Icarus. You only see a tragic story, just like Pinocchio. Pinocchio is nothing, it's a wooden doll, and it's the same as the cross. It's called Pinocchio's the liar. The liar is talking to you and the cross did it. What is there to say about all these things? You know what is right. You don't have to speak from factual, literal, and some other talk about confession in conjoint of confliction of one of the other. It's not always the same, and it's not always a good fact to say that you are alike what the Bible says or the Quran, because you're not alike. You live in a new day, you're a new person. You can't see that factual and actual in conflict to yourself to read it out and turn it upside down so that it's involved into your life. That it is not. It's not that literal to your life, it's literal to their life, and they're gone. And they live on to some part of you, but you are not the same. You may think you have the same morals and the same kind of despair of life or situation, but the situation is way richer and way more complicated than it was back then. Okay, it was complicated because all of these death tolls and all of these wars and stuff like that. It was complicated, but the modern society is more complicated on the individual level, and it's where it stands forth on the individual level what love is about. And it's not like the polarity of this world and this negative thought that is pushed aside and then grandured in positivity about something else like ADD. Let's roll over it so we don't have to speak about one thing that makes us feel bad. let's forget about it, and then never work your kinks out in your revelations. Where are your revelations if you keep saying you're gonna die and it's gonna get worse? You don't focus on the fact that you're dying or that something is ending in a cycle in the universe. You hope that you live. You pray for that every day you're given is a day you're given in good sum. And whilst you're not working with the negativity but with love on an individual level and on a grander level of group or say a whole community, then even way then you're better off. Then you're better off than most persons, I can tell you that. And what is there to say if you segregate yourself like a caveman? You turn around like me, like you turn around, you become a caveman. You only talk to the telephone. And you do crazy shit because you're having a space dementia, kind of like Korsakov attack, also with ADD, everything aside, and negativity overwhelms you the whole day. You feel like Icarus falling down the rabbit hole. You're contemplating more than 40 years of life. You're contemplating a lot of criminality, a lot of work, a lot of bad stuff, and nothing really works out. You made money, you gave it away. It's not all that important, all that billionaire's life and that super football player act if you're not that person. And it's not all that important to give out $100 for a cup of coffee when a cup of coffee costs like 20 cents. You know what I mean? Decent normal things like home brew and stuff like that, like a hamburger that you made yourself. You bought some mincemeat, you rolled a hamburger, you have some eggs and onions, you have some picante, there you go, you have a fucking hamburger. You have some lettuce and some sauce, you have some normal snit sandwich, here you go, you have one from home. Yeah, that's ordinary, that's normal. The negativity that's going toward the day, that's also an efficiency problem, you know what I mean? If the time and the morale doesn't work out because of gay or normal people or war or no war or a politician or B politician or I have to go to the dentist but I want this syringe but they're gonna give me a mask and I'm gonna be bad about that. All of that stuff, the choice and the stuff you've been given, closer up to what people can choose or have to choose is something different. And if can do, can act and should meet the fact that it works. But you can't help out the fact of freedom and stuff like that there's people with bad minds and bad stuff to do that turn that shit around. And it's the same thing in moment of time of falling down. What you doing? You're falling down, you're in slow motion, you're falling down, you lost your wings of some feeling of grandeur, of some power that you can fly and you can do stuff, but you're still flying in a certain bit, but you're falling down. You're not going kaboom, you're not blowing up into fire, but yeah, you fell down. You're going towards the abyss or something called like that. But whilst you're there, it's a talk about morale. This talk about Icarus and all of that stuff in the Bible and stuff in belief and in cultural academical studies and all of that stuff. It's about an adventure with yourself, from yourself, towards yourself, and then from yourself, towards a new day. And the stone that you put around your neck or that you throw in the ocean, is the choice you have on the good or the bad stuff. The stone you're gonna carry is the stone you're gonna, the guilt or the pride that you carry with you because you done the right thing or you made a choice and you get a second chance and you make it okay. The stone you throw in the sea, which you don't need, that's the weight you don't need. You don't need to be polar to each other, say A politician, B politician, otherwise it's going to be war, or people need to die because they have a different color, or people need to die because they wear a pink hat and they kiss each other. You don't have anything to say, and they even might save someone's life or something else or whatever, or give money to people in Africa who don't have clean water or stuff like that, and other people who have millions don't give a fucking rat's ass even about their own people in their own country. You know what I mean? And what is it like? He said that rich guy, he's going to use drugs anyway if he wants to use drugs, and he's going to get away with it because, yeah, he can buy a lawyer or whatever. And the other guy who does these things, who gets pinched in another world, maybe in another life where you're not so free and stuff like that, yeah, he gets thrown into jail because he used drugs, or has to pay a fine which he can't pay, all kinds of problems, and has to flee his own country because of financial problems. Or and the rich guy can do whatever he wants. Or for instance, let's say you have this moment, this happening in history, and it's doctored. It's doctored to the point that it's so oblivious to the point of logic that all of these terrorist attacks and wars in small part from on the 60s, 70s, after the Second World War, from the 60s, 70s, these small wars in countries and conflicts in general, and all of the things that cope to money and having stuff or buying stuff, comes to the fact to where were we at after the Second World War, and with the space age and new stuff and all of these things getting into like a bottleneck, or like rocket fuel itself, like going on a rampage. Where did these conflicts and these moments pointing towards this moment where we're up against each other and up against ourselves, because the modern world is up against each other, and he say, she say, he say, me say, or they say and it's only they say, or it's only they say because you say yourself that it's all a naysay. And then you're towards my point, where you feel like Icarus, but you are like Icarus. You are kinda, Abel is the name of someone who is named after the creation of the world. They didn't call him Edom, but they called him Habel, as wonder of the world, and all of that stuff. But it says something about dictionary, in legend, all of these things on walls and in books and stuff like that, that some words or some meanings from word to word or reading between lines are not to say the literal person fell out of the sky and is Lucifer, or every legend and story is a person with two sides to the story. There are some person in the story who have one story about legend, their power or their curse, and they have like so many different faces from day to day. They still had a life. They were still human people from one side to the other side, and talk about different kinds of worlds are also in these legends. What is there more normal than a conflict of interest in a modern world where there is only conflict and negativity up against the morale? That's polarity, negativity up against the morale. To work the polarity, to get the information away from the enemy, and to get people sided to the morale of one way. To say polarity works in some matters of politics is it sometimes matters or happens that it fixes out and joins people's minds, but mostly it induces the conflict towards people get to walk away from the situation of involvement. It's because people get tired of the conflict that doesn't get solved. Everybody gave his opinion about how the conflict should stop or should be better, but there's no work put against, and that's why they feel so hopeless, and they get the same feeling of tumbling down the rabbit hole, feeling like Alice, Icarus then, and having an Achilles heel or a heel that's in the sand and is cut. You're standing on a wrong balance. You're having a wrong type of deal in a wrong type of day that you should be seeking out something different. You survived a whole lot of big shit and you're still going on with the world strong, with the sun aside and the moon aside. You're still living. You still have your general area of control in your belief system and everything of that between the Hippocrates, life and death, and healthiness, and the spices and the water of the earth. You're working against all of these things and you're doing a lot of things, but the thing is, you're working some things off, you're cutting off the edges of some people's minds while you're working with money and interest in power. And in some part, when you need the freedom of the people, you ask their opinion, but you don't give them something back. You don't give them result. And that's where the polarity starts in. They don't want to go walk aside you or with you. They want to see you fall because you told people that it's going to be better, but you're always taking 2 steps behind while you're taking 1 step in front. While you're saying you're working towards a goal, but you're actually walking backwards. And it's the same with other conflicts, and it's the same with other situations. Blow over the fact that when some conflict is risen in another area, and it has to do with money, then you get yourself into a conflict again, and it's never working out. It's never a good toolbox, you know what I mean? It's never a 1-year toolbox with no accidents. It's always a motherfucking shit point. It's always a shit point. It's always, but I feel bad and I'm falling down and nobody helps me, and I have the biggest country and I make the most expenses. And nobody's shooting. I have to shoot alone. Yeah. Why do you have to shoot? Why do you have to make a war just like another person towards a goal that is supposedly not a real war? For instance, it's not really someone who said, let's do stuff and let's all fall back into a pattern of attacking each other and then wait till the bomb drops and then we have the same fucking thing as a Second World War. It's in repercussion, it's turning around since 1800. You have this polarity, you have these things of people feeling bad and there needs to be something done. And then some people get together and you get these groups, and then you get the shift in Republican or Democratic or right or left or blue or whatever, or nationalistic party, whatever, and they talk about racism or righteousness or whatever, but it's not about that towards politics. And from that point on, you get militia groups inside the government. And then government is really something back then who started the war, and after the war can't start the same shit again. So you get people who start working inside the government who want to change it again but become corrupt because of NATO is holding back inside that corruption, that it's going to fall back to some Nazi pollution, which other countries have inside their agenda. And I'm not talking about the color of flag or their philosophy, but because it's not about that. When you're feeling the universe has gave you a shit day and you're feeling we're gonna be in danger, and you're having a good day after a year or 10, you're not having the shit day yet, and the prosperity of things is still going, and the projection of promise is also good. Then you start working or cutting the bad edges of the branch off the vine so you get good grapes again. You cut off the problems. You don't start a new problem and a new problem every single time. You feel bad about small stuff. And it's actually small stuff because you don't need each other in Iran or America, because you don't have stuff in common. You make the stuff wrong for people in civilianship because we have to pay the bills and you're already walking behind in money. You never pay your bills back on time. You only make a lot of more guilt. And other people have to pay for that, and they get in the same kind of ruckus. You have to be pulled back out like a 3/4 cents on the dollar, like a $0.25 on the dollar. They have to be pulled back like a curse jar. You have to be pulled back because of that behavior. And Europe is not the good one either, because you work together and you start huffing and puffing on things, and you're not in the right position when it comes to legend, when you talk to me or other people talk to you about saying stuff like me. That's also in a petition. And it's not in the petition that they elected some American president or someone from the European Parliament, but it's not about that. It's about fixing the money that you don't have to fix up the war again. Because if you're fixing that, you're only fixing a kaput tree. And where you cut a tree down when it's kaput, right? When it's dirty, when it's mushrooms growing in the tree, you cut it down. It's gone. You build a new tree, you wait 50 years to get the fruit, to get a fig tree. You have another fig tree in 50 years. Then your grandchildren tell you, we had a new tree, the old tree died. That's not what you do every time, right? You have a whole lot of fig trees because you have a farm, right? Yeah? You're not, what is there to do? I need figs, I buy these figs from this farmer, yeah? I don't have money, I steal the figs. Yeah, you're gonna be put in prison. My brother burned his fig tree because I don't like him. His brother's a bit senile, he burns down the fig trees, and then they get put in jail, they chop the head off. Yeah, they're gone. He gets his 50 years back, and what do you get then? It's not up to you. If it were up to you, we were in big trouble. But people don't see that as it is. People see only the small things in the conflict, and they feel like they're falling down and betrayed and in a depression of a zone of a conflict, because they look at the problem, and that's shock doctrine. They look at the problem and think, I need to do something about it because it's going to be my problem if I do this or do that. It never works out anyway. You always have to work for the third bone, to walk around and see the problem and then say nothing about the problem until the problem is so obvious that you have to say something that you're against. You're against both sides of any kind of conflict. And because I said stuff maybe in a wrong type of manner, or what do I mean by being an alien and coming from another place? Yeah, I am actually. It's written on any freaking handline or freckle that I have on my body, with star signs and everything. It's measured. And I'm not that important for you in a personal or individual manner, but it is measurable towards a sense of feeling depressed or feeling bad, or being in the same position as being discriminated against, or shit pushed in or stuff like that. Yeah. And whereas my opinion is that you're walking so far behind and you don't see it, that you're going to destroy the world yourselves or yourself before that, like suicide, and you're not there anymore. You're not there in the same partition of doing things in a good morale. You don't work together in a good morale. You're segregating yourself, just like the Minnesota Salem organization of Myers and a lot of corrupt people in 1100. You're doing the same things as in 1400 as in Munster. You're doing the same thing as in 1500 with the Spanish Inquisition and the Dutch war. You're doing the same thing as in 1700 as the 100-year siege of the churches. You're doing the same thing as the Second and the First World War. You're doing the same thing over and over again. And then you're gonna lay it with the civilians, that it's up to them to fix it. But they never fix it. They run like cattle when a crocodile is hunting them, and they cross the river, and that's the only thing they do. They go from point A to point B, and they don't think. But you have the power to think and to think things through. Show me something in more sight than a lukewarm buffet of some old French fries with a hamburger. The hamburger was good because it was fresh, but the French fries and everything inside was lukewarm because it was 3 days old stale stuff. What do I got to do with that old stuff? I don't want to deal with that old stuff. I want to deal with the new stuff. I don't want to follow repetition of some anguish of namesake or church sake or whatever. That's the wrongest thing there is. If there is something to feel like falling down a rabbit hole, it's that congregational sake of condemnation by the church. That is so fucking bad. That is so fucking bad for everyone that you don't want to know. I'm gonna hold up now. I'm gonna load this up. I'm gonna post it. Bye.